Satori Shakoor is the creator, curator, producer, and host of the award-winning Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. She is a published writer, produced playwright, and a veteran of live performance with national and international credits for her accomplishments in music as one of the brides of Frankenstein, theater, and comedy. Satori is a proud grandmother who loves Detroit and Salvation Army finds.
And welcome to the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and this is the show where we bridge the gaps one story at a time. Today I am here with the wonderful, amazing Satori Shakoor. Thank you, Satori, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
You're quite welcome. Well, in the entry of the show, the intro, normally what we do is we read your bio. You are this amazing person, but what we really want to know is, who are you at your core? Who are you?
At my core, I guess I am the person who grew up on Fisher Street on the east side of Detroit between Vernon and Kercheval. That's where I was shaped and formed. I grew up in the 60s. My mother was a maid. She worked in Grosse Pointe for a number of what she called her ladies. My father was much older, 20 years older than her, and he worked at Ford Motor Company on the line. And we lived in a two-family flat. I lived upstairs at 229 Fisher with my mother and two of my siblings, and my father lived downstairs with my stepmother, his wife. And I didn't know he was even my father until I was 10 years old. It was a meeting that took place in the kitchen, and it sort of disrupted, it was like a break in belonging at that time. And so I kind of distanced from my family and like, you guys, you keep secrets, So I think maybe that's part of why not to mention the fact I grew up around storytellers, old black women from the South. But I think one of the reasons why I'm interested in hearing honesty and truth is because I think that when it's withheld, it can have an impact. It had a great impact on me as a kid at 10. It's like, well, who can I trust? Why didn't you tell me? All these questions that at that time my parents didn't know how to answer. You don't know how to answer certain questions because your kid doesn't know how to ask the questions that you need to answer. And if there's any defensiveness about it or anything, then there's even more pushback. So I had an amazing journey trying to figure that twisted thing out because I grew up in the backdrop of religion, which was my uncle was a minister, and I grew up in the backdrop of a certain kind of nuclear family and a certain social environment. So there was stigma attached to my mother having children without being married to my father, and my father living downstairs with my stepmother kind of appeared to be polygamous. But I didn't know anything was different until I entered into social context of school and could compare my growing up with Fun with Dick and Jane. Because they had the perfect family, and if I investigated my block, none of us had a Fun and Dick with Jane existence, okay? But of course you only internalize your different way of your growing up. So I grew up in a country at that time of values, from the president on down to the state, to the mayor, to the school system. Everybody seemed to have the same value. Education was a priority. That physical fitness was a priority. This was during President Kennedy, John F. Kennedy. So I remember us being measured for fitness in school, doing push-ups, pull-ups. That's where I became a sprinter. So it's, physical fitness is part of my life today because it was instilled in me as a child and it shaped my existence. I ran track, then I did bodybuilding, and I work out 5 days a week at an intense level now. It's just part of how I live. When I was born in 1954, so I was born when Brown versus the Board of Education. So I grew up in a future that was, pointed toward me being educated. I was growing into voting rights and civil rights and women's rights and everything rights in a time when people were, there was a high level of activism, a high level of unity, continuity, and leadership and courage. in getting our rights. And so the prescriptions that my parents gave me were like tips to survive the Jim Crow South in Mississippi. So I often think, are we educating our children 2 generations behind? Who am I raising my kids, from the future or from the past? And so I loved, the times gave me power, because I know I had a better education than my son. And I'm hoping that with my granddaughter and her mom and me and all of the rest of the family, that she'll be supported in getting a fine education, even if it's not directly in the charter school she goes to, that there's supplemental things. And I thank God for Mosaic. Thank God for Inside Out Literary Arts. I thank God for us, for the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, that provide outlets and opportunities for kids and adults to hear other people's experiences so they can expand and grow and expound upon their own life.
Awesome, amazing. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Satori Shakoor here on the Conversations with Kai Mann show.
Hello, Detroit, and welcome to the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, where real people tell true stories live on stage. No notes, no poetry or Dr. Seuss, just the truth from their lips to your listening hearts and minds. Stories so raw and revealing, so hilarious, human and healing, they will move and inspire you. Take a break from what you usually do. Come out, connect, meet old friends and new. Every third Friday at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Visit www.secretstorytellers.com to watch videos and for info and tickets today.
Welcome back. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show, and I am your host, Kai Mann, and I am sitting here with Satori Shakoor of the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. She is amazing. I have been able to just kind of watch you from the background, and I've always wanted to know. I've heard, different stories that you've told, and they are amazing stories, by the way. I love them. You talk about menopause, you talk about all these things that women deal with, but on a way that is serious, but then you bring it around to something that's funny. How do you do that? Like, how do you craft a story so well like that?
I am an artist and I am a storyteller. So I approach my expertise, my career is in performance. So I learned how to tell stories as a musician, as a violinist. I learned how to tell stories as a singer, professional singer. I learned how to tell stories as an actor, as a stand-up comedian, as a writer, producer, playwright, and just the moth and my own event. So I see the world in the way that I see the world. So I kind of see the world in this like sort of twisted way. I find humor in the human experience. So when I'm looking at myself or telling a true personal story about myself, I have access to all of the things that make life funny. You have the inside situation, and so I just tell the truth. I just tell the truth. You can't really tell the truth, but you can put it in a story. So I think when I was going through my beginning stages, my sophomore year or my freshman year as a stand-up, studying with Judy Carter in Los Angeles. And I, everybody gets up and says whatever they say. And she says, and she's great at this, she says, what makes you funny is your honesty. And so I had to go on a journey to, oh, really, my honesty? What's that? And then finding out that your honesty sometimes is met with discernment, disagreement, criticism. And so I had to go on a journey of validating my experience. And everybody no one has to cite anyone when it comes to their story, when it comes to their experience. If you come into contact with a particularly particularly challenging moment in your life, if you lost something dear, on the other side of that is a transformed you. And that you is the verification, the validation of your experience. So you don't have to say, well, so-and-so Shakespeare said. You can use your life to support what Shakespeare said. My life proves what Shakespeare said, or by whoever, but you can stand in your own experience with power and say, this is what I learned.
Wow, that's amazing. I had the opportunity to go back and I've watched some of your videos. And speaking of the human experience, you talk also about grief, the grief that you felt as far as losing your mother and then your son. How is it that you're able to be in the space that you were in at that particular time to be able to move forward to where you are now dealing with that type of grief?
It was a process. I mean, grief is a grace if you go through the whole thing, because in the process of grief is your survival, is your new self. So as an actor, as a person who practices a certain kind of spirituality, a person who practices trust, I went on the journey of grief. I'm an actor, so the show must go on, and I was in two hit plays, one in Toronto and one in Detroit, to get 1 week off if someone dies. So I went through, I did the show. I would be backstage and ask the stage manager, please hold the curtain for just a couple of seconds while I sop these tears up. And da-da-da-da-da-da! I was in another play in Toronto called The Kink in My Hair, and we went to Toronto, England, San Diego. We won the NAACP awards, and my character was a very, I played an old woman falling in love after a divorce, and it was very funny. They would be on the floor laughing, and I'd go back to my hotel room and just, make my pillow the sanctuary of tears. So what kept me going was that, but also I met my granddaughter on the day of my son's funeral. She was 4, and so I had to be, here's my son's legacy, and I had to rise. I had to get to know her mother, her sibling, I had to rise and then deal with grief, scheduled grief. And then when the words were swimming on the page, I joined a grief support group at the time it was Renaissance Unity Church, and I learned about the stages of grief, and I learned about how to move through them, how to accept myself at every stage. And I learned as I moved through that even though you're out in the world and have a breakdown, there's somebody there, like in Macy's, who will help you when you collapse. You go to some friends give you a massage while your mother is dying in hospital, and you get to the counter and they said, your last name? My mother's dying. And the woman comes from behind the counter, she's about this big, and holding me up, And I don't know her. I can tell you I can know she was short, but I can't tell you what she looks like. And it doesn't matter. It just what mattered was that what I drew and gained from that is that you can trust human beings with yourself. So I was no longer afraid to go out when the occasion happened. So moving through grief is a moment-to-moment thing. And then when you think, then after 7 years, after six, 7 years, you think, all right, a whole new vein of grief opens up, and you realize, wow, I forgot, I didn't grieve the part in the hospital, that 9 months when I had to be strong and hold on for my son, and now boom, there that is, and but there's a cleansing, and you realize afterward how strong you are. And then when you are in the presence of other people, and you can see their grief, you can see pain, you know, and then you want to release it, and you know if they tell their story, you know if they, because we've not, you know, it's like at a certain point we don't want to even share. I talk about my son Noah, my mother, you know, because why not? I'm a mother. Why should I check out at Mother's Day and not talk about my child just because he's not physically here on earth? If people are uncomfortable about me talking about my son who's gone, so be it. You know, it's like this is. I'm not going to make you comfortable. I'm going to celebrate my son, and know that his life was a miracle, and that my granddaughter, who looks like him, who has his craft, his art, she soars, you know. And she's in Washington D.C. right now, you know, and on her 8th grade senior trip or whatever. So there's joy at the end, and but in taking that journey of grief, there's dark places that you travel. I mean, if you lose a computer program and you be think about if you lose your child, someone dear. It's more than that. So it's an incredible. It's an incredible space to be in, and it can be very dark. It can be a place of depression, of hopelessness, of a chore, feeling like a chore to live every day. You wake up and it's like, you wake up to that, to knowing you don't have these two people in your life. And so I personally at that point I was at Wayne State University, and I was studying with the great professor, Dr. Ronald Aronson. He's an atheist, a 3rd generation atheist, with a 4th generation and a 5th generation ahead of him. And I took a class called Transformation of Religion. And he's one of the best teachers I've ever had, but he gave us a little book by Julian Backedy called Introduction to Atheism. And I read it. It's basically an argument for atheism. And at the end of the book, it was a sound argument. I was grief-stricken enough, gone to a place where I could explore atheism. What is it like to live without God? Because I'm mad. And I don't, and truthfully, frankly, I don't think most people live with God every single moment of their life. You remember God. Oh God, please help me win the lottery. Oh God, I take this pain away. God, please don't let the cancer spread. But it's not like a continuous thing of God. So I'm like, well, if I live with God sometime and not others, what is it like to not live with God? It's scary. Because then I began to meet God as I created God. God is hope. You know, God is, please get me that grade on the test. You know, God is when everything is gone, every last thing has been, then you give it over to God. But I live without God so that I could find out who God really was. Not this, some preacher told me, some Buddhist told me, some, Muslim told me. What's God? If I go deep in, if it's within, let me go. And I went, and I discovered something that gave me power out of it. I'm not an atheist. Today, I'm not a Christian. I don't identify with any organized religion. I know now that I am a spirit walking around in a bodysuit, and I thank God that I'm a healthy bodysuit. And one day I'm gonna unzip and walk out. Y'all ain't gonna see the unzip, but one day I'm gonna be looking up like my mother did, because people die looking, their eyes are open. Mm-hmm. And so my mother, when I walked in to see my mother's, where she left her bodysuit, her eyes were open as if she saw something and she went to it. And that's, I told somebody today in the sauna, ain't nothing gonna kill me, I'm just gonna quietly give up my bodysuit.
Right. Amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We are going to go to break. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Focus One Entertainment is Detroit's premier entertainment company. But we're not just an entertainment company. We are your #1 multimedia resource. Focus One has combined years of talent and experience in order to bring you what you're looking for in a video, a polished professional product. F1 Entertainment specializes in filming workshops, seminars, and corporate presentations. More and more businesses are utilizing video production services to create web virtuals, online marketing content, and promotional and corporate training videos. Your company can do the same with Focus One Entertainment. Contact Focus One Entertainment at 313-444-3638 or visit us on the web at www.focusoneенtertainment.com.
One of the things that I've dealt with was depression, feelings of sadness and loneliness from what I used to have. Most of us feel depressed at times, that's normal. But when it lasts more than 2 weeks and it begins to interfere with your daily activities like work, school, or taking care of the kids, that's when we should talk to a professional. 3 to 5% of most people suffer from depression. It wasn't until I addressed what was going on inside of me, and instead of suppressing it, that my life changed. Talk to someone. You matter. Join the movement. #GetNaked.
And welcome back. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and I'm sitting here with Satori Shakoor of the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. She is amazing, y'all. Well, I love talking with you. I have, like I said, I've watched like tons of videos. You worked with a client of mine some months ago. She did her story on her book, and the work that you did with her.
Who is your friend?
Mrs. Eatman.
Oh, yes, Mary.
You did a work with her that was amazing, that brought something out of her that she had not had. Do you get that a lot, where your spirit just connects with other people and they just open up in a different way?
I am a trained coach, and I'm trained to listen. And I'm a storyteller, and I understand the craft. So my listening is for the story. So if you are hiding something, I can hear it, because you can hear how you build the blocks with the language, you know. And so I sometimes I have to go after a storyteller, because I know they're afraid. She said, "Well, I won't have time till next July," and I say, "Well, you're never gonna have time. Now is the time." So it's that. I'm not afraid to ask, "What's that? What's that in your eyes? You know, what's those tears about?" Or to push, because some storytellers come to me and they present themselves, their poem, and and the poem, and I said, "That's a great poem." Now, but this is a storytelling show, and then I'll ask them 1 or 2 questions. I said, "What's that?" "Well, I can't tell that though." I said, "Well, what story is more important to tell than the one that's come this?" "But I haven't thought about that. I buried it." "I hate you. I hate you." They hate me all the way up until the night, and then on the night they can't sleep. They call me, "I love you, Satori. I'm so sorry." And then I'm always prepared to tell the deeper truth, to demonstrate to you whatever I'm asking you for as truth. You know, because it's not, did you kill 10 people or 9? I've killed 11. Okay, well, say 11. I'm not judging you about the,
Right.
We want to get accurate.
Right.
So those are the kind of things. I'm not sitting in any kind of judgmental space. A lot of therapists, a lot of psychologists come to my show, a lot of psychiatrists, and they often ask, "How did you get them to say that?" I said, "Because I never think human beings are sick. I just think that they may have not visited their story in a while, because stories are alive. If you're alive, your story has the potential to be impacted by your growth, your development, your spirituality. So if something happened to you at 13 and you've frozen that hurt, frozen that experience, and every time you tell a story about yourself at 13, you carry that forward with you, then at 35, 40, 50, you're still that third. So let's go back and look. Okay, so you forgave your husband for that? Mary, we're talking about Mary. You forgave your husband? That's extraordinary. People don't want to reveal what happens to a lot of human beings, they don't want to share what is common because they think it's just them. But then it's like, I can't tell that, but why not? Because at the end of your story, or at the new beginning, is a transformed you who survived. Not only survived, how many people can forget? I mean, I am humbled. It is a privilege to hear people's stories, to work every week with somebody in their story, because you actually build a relationship of trust in 4 weeks that's sustaining. And you get to honor and be in the presence of a human being that's achieved greatness in their journey. So it's a privilege and honor for me to present stories, and I'm definitely going to have you come up and do a story, and you too, sir, because everybody can tell stories at our event, and just have fun, release it, give somebody else a benefit, a gift. Don't hold that journey inside. That journey has value. It has real value in the world. It can actually shift another person's consciousness, shift the way they think about life. It only takes a little shift to see life a whole nother way. And it's the whole point of view. I remember when I was in Montreal with the Just for Laughs Festival, I was doing a play there. I was there for 3 months. I saw all the festivals. But I went to see a Picasso exhibit, his erotica exhibit, which was, they didn't tour that a lot. And I went to the Museum du Montreal, and there was a big sculpture of Dora, called one of his lovers, in one of his muses. And it was a big 6 foot, anywhere you stood as you made your way around the sculpture, it was a new piece of work. So if you go all the way on the other side, you saw a whole other work of art, and what I got from that is there are infinite perceptions of the same thing. And so you don't have the truth, I don't have the truth, and no singular anything has the truth, but if we put all the stories together, maybe we can approach something that approximates the truth. If we don't put our story next to Rick Snyder's story, if we don't have those stories, then that one story, it's like my girl crush, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie says, the danger of a single story. If only one story gets told, all these other stories, that becomes a truth. Right. So that's why I want to present a lot of different stories so people can get a different perspectives and open up, and it breaks down barriers of gender, and race, and ethics, and culture, and we can get right straight to the business of, I'm a human being. Right.
Well, we're going to take another break. Thank you so much. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Focus, the state or quality of having or producing clear definition. Focus One Entertainment is the premier videography company in the Midwest. We specialize in weddings, corporate events, documentaries, sporting events, and films. Regardless of the scope or budget, we approach every project the same way, by capturing and clearly defining your vision. Contact us at 313-444-3638 or www.focusoneEntertainment.com.
The Get Naked movement is about keeping it real by addressing those issues we want to keep on the hush, but it's necessary to talk about in order for us to heal. So, join the movement. #GetNaked.
Welcome back. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and I am sitting here with Satori Shakoor. This is the show where we bridge the gaps one story at a time. So speaking of stories, when did you absolutely know that you were a storyteller?
The first time that I saw myself as a storyteller was probably in 2008, 2009. And the only reason I called myself a storyteller is because I didn't relate to actor. Mm-hmm. Like actor was, at that point, although I've done a lot of acting and filming, I just never felt good enough as an actor to call myself an actor. You know, like that was a special craft, and even though I was acting and doing it, it was just like, but when I could call myself a storyteller, then I could act, because I was telling a story, which didn't, you know, for some reason. Then a director would say, "You're a great storyteller," and I was, oh. So then when brands were, find your brand, you know, I didn't know what my brand was, and I started asking people from my childhood. I called up somebody I knew in college, somebody I knew in high school, and Adele Shaver said, "Oh, you're a storyteller. That's all you do." And then I called another friend, Carolyn. Carolyn said, "You remember that night at Michigan State, you know, and the car, we ran out of gas, and we sat on the side of that road all night till, you know, light, so we could go and you told stories all night. You told about that car. You had me laughing, and I was so scared, but you had me laughing the whole night, all night, and I knew, you know, you're a storyteller." And then I just started to go, oh, you don't know really that's who you are, because it's just like breathing. Oh. And so when I started, I branded myself as a storyteller, and then the world opened up to me, and somebody said, "Oh, come to the Moth down at Cliff Bells," and I came to the Moth, and I was like, really? You don't have to make anybody laugh, you can just tell a story. And that was the deal, and I could get up there and tell a story. And even though people do laugh, you know, because I'm funny, I mean, I guess I see the world funny, and when I show people how I see the world, they laugh. But it's also a craft, it's a skill, it's being funny. So I don't even know what you asked me.
It's okay, because we're going to move on from that.
Good, thank you. You'll find something. I'm a trainer, you got to keep me on track.
Okay, so you are more than just a storyteller. Mm-hmm. You are a creative person that creates different spaces for other people as well.
I'm a social entrepreneur.
Exactly. And how hard is it to keep creating new things?
It's not hard at all to create new things, or have creative ideas. Mm-hmm. The challenge is making it live in a three-dimensional world, mm-hmm. and to get other people to see it. It took, and it still takes, it's going to be 4 years next month, July 19th, for the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers. People already have an idea of what they think it is, mm-hmm. so they don't go. And then when they come, it's like, I'll never miss a month, mm-hmm. you know, because storytelling is what it is to be human. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're, the only people that are making stories are one that are alive. You stop making stories the moment you leave. So stories are the way we make sense and the way we process our experience as human beings. So it was like, oh, this is Dr. Seuss. Can children come? You know, it was all based on the past of what they saw storytelling. But when they come and they're just floored because they hear another human being honest about their life, and then they can't believe you just said what, and they come down to the storyteller and they're like, oh, you just told my story. That's my mother. My mother has dementia. Oh, I've got lupus. And it opens things up for people to talk about, because people want to talk about these scary things, these wonderful things, these things that they're conflicted about. And if they don't have any way of knowing that somebody else has that same thing, they keep it inside. It festers. It implodes on you because you're having to handle this all by yourself when there's the wisdom of all this other experience, you know. if you just found out you have lupus and you don't know nobody else that has lupus, you got to start with inventing the wheel of research.
Right.
When, hey, Hildegard Kirkland has had lupus for 20-something years. You can just call her up,
Right.
see her story, and know what's going to happen to you. Why am I bloating? Oh, girl, please, that's just it'll go away. You know, that's what we need. That it's all right. I've been through that. That's okay. We need it, because sometimes those lifesavers, you be in your bed crying, shivering with fear, and outside, right there, waiting to embrace you is all this experience. It's going to be fine.
Right.
You know.
You also have created, again, spaces for people to just be themselves. What's the difference between the Satori of 2016 and the one of 2006?
10 years ago, I was on my knees in grief. I lost my mother in 2005 and my son in 2006. I was taking a full load at Wayne State University and doing menopause musical and the key to my hair. I was completely operating on fumes and my professionalism as an actor. The show must go on. In 2016, I have probably listened and worked with, 200 people, 250 stories. I have grown. Every storyteller, every experience, this has grown me. I won't know how this has grown me until probably next week or 2 weeks from now. And something will happen and it'll come out. But I am more human. I think I am a human being finally. I'm more compassionate. I have developed an ear that I want to continue to develop. I have found in this work that I am a teacher, that I am a facilitator, and that I can fully express my entire self through this purpose, through this work. It takes me in so many areas. I have been invited to do a sermon. I've done 2 sermons from a pulpit, and I'm like, really, you want me? I'm the Funkadelic. I'm being asked to speak with the Free Press next week at the One Nation event on economy and jobs. Really, I'm poor as a church mouse to economy and jobs. Well, I can tell you from my church mouse. And so it's all these different places that I'm able to tell stories, which brings me back to my desire, which is to tell stories all over the world that are transformational.
Amazing. Well, we're going to take another break, and we'll be right back to finish up our interview here with Satori Shakoor. This has been Kai Mann, your host with the Conversations of Kai Mann Show.
Hello, Detroit, and welcome to the secret society of Twisted Storytellers, where real people tell true stories live on stage. No notes, no poetry or Dr. Seuss, just the truth from their lips to your listening hearts and minds. Stories so raw and revealing, so hilarious, human and healing, they will move and inspire you. Take a break from what you usually do. Come out, connect, meet old friends and new. Every third Friday at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History. Visit www.secretstorytellers.com to watch videos and for info and tickets today.
One of the things I've dealt with was low self-esteem due to body image. Growing up, I thought I was a cute girl. But it wasn't until I was 11 or 12 that I noticed I wasn't built like the boys necessarily liked. My friends teased me for having a flat butt and a flat chest. Ultimately, this bruised my esteem. Did you know 44% of schoolgirls attempt to lose weight compared to only 15% of boys? And did you know 70% of girls ages 15 through 17 avoid normal daily activities, even like going to school, just because they feel bad about their looks? This type of negative self-thinking usually follows us into adulthood and affects our interpersonal relationships. It wasn't until I fell in love with me and accepted me for who I was that changed my life. Think and speak kindly of yourself. Join the movement. #GetNaked.
And welcome back. This is the Conversations with Kai Mann show. I'm your host, Kai Mann, and I'm sitting here with Satori Shakoor. And we are talking about everything storytelling. You are also, we've talked a little bit about you being a comedian, but you were also a funkadelic. How does one become a funkadelic?
Every funkadelic has a different story, but you're not once were, you always are. It's a family. It's the funk family.
Right.
I happen to be living in New York, pursuing a recording career, trying to get on Broadway, and my friend Overton Lloyd, who is an impeccable, world-renowned artist now, told me about, he was doing album covers for Parliament Funkadelic, one of the artists, and he told me about auditions in Detroit for a group called the Brides of Funkestein. They were a new group, they were looking for backup singers. So I borrowed money from my mother and from a friend, flew to Detroit, and they were at a hotel on Jefferson. That's where all of them were staying. And I brought my little 8x10, I brought my little cassette tape to my audition because I'm used to auditioning for Broadway. And that's not how you audition for Parliament Funkadelic. Really, at that level of musicianship, you have to know somebody. It's like, we need a drummer. Well, you're not going to go audition all the drummers in the world. It's going to like, oh yeah, Dennis Chambers in Baltimore, because you played with Dennis,
right?
And he's a genius,
right? And
he was 16. So I came from a recommendation, and they had already hired somebody, Val Young. She's a star now with Mary Jane Girl. She was out. I just saw her shame her. Anyhow, Dawn Silver said, well, she may not work out, and if she doesn't, we'll fly you back on my dime. And she took my shoe size, my dress size. I flew back to New York on that Monday. On Wednesday, she called and said, well, are you, we're going to hire you. Your flight, I was working at New York discotheque for this really rich guy. And I walked in and I said, I'm getting ready to go, I'm going to be leaving. I was a temp anyway, Kelly girl. I'm going to be leaving to sing with the biggest black rock band in the world. He goes, oh great, when are you leaving? I said, right now. He said, you can't leave right now. You're supposed to order that Yellow Canary Rolls Royce for me. And I'm like, but I'm leaving. And Atlantic Records, which was right across the street from New York discotheque, took us to lunch, the Brides, Atlantic Records. And we went to New York, and all the wait staff that I had brought in for them to interview to hire for this new restaurant that was opening up were waiting on me. We had our little, we had gotten some muskrat furs from Travelers Alley. We thought we were something with our dried pelts coming in, up in there, and oh, hello, and I introduced them to all the wait staff and stuff. You know, we had our little Louis Vuittons, and at that time I thought Louis Vuitton was my all-access pass, okay? No matter what color I was, didn't matter if I was black, how torn my jeans was. If I had Louis Vuitton, I was something. And if I had some other designer on the back pocket of my jeans, and I sold that Louis 2 years later at a garage sale for $10. Then got rid of all of my pants that had somebody else's name on them. You know, but that was what I needed, I guess, because it's intimidating being at that level of entertainment.
Wow.
Playing Madison Square Gardens, Pontiac Silverdome and Cotton Bowl, and 80,000 people. It's like, where's my foundation? Well, my foundation is Detroit East Side. My mother. I used to call home from my hotel rooms and go, just be in touch with my grounding, So drugs, rock and roll, and now there's a documentary I'll call Tear the Roof Off, and I went out to Montana to be on the panel. It premiered there. It just premiered in Harlem and won Best Documentary there. And thank you. And Bobby J. Brown is the documentary filmmaker, and the women in Harlem thanked him for including the women in the film. And now it's out in San Francisco. Don's gonna be on the panel for that. So there is a documentary out there that's documenting some of the journey of Parliament Funkadelic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of journey, there has been years that you have been on your journey. What has been the most influential or the most transformational for you?
Transformation, each one of them, because you transform into something, a new expression. You can't compare that to the next new expression you're going to become, or the experience that delivers you there.
Wow.
You know, so becoming a stand-up comedian, or just my journey with Parliament Funkadelic was transformational, because I got exposed in my early 20s to, like, I understand the world, I understand the breakdowns in the world, how, you know, Fantasia, all these rock stars, what they encounter, the influences, how do you stay centered in all of that flux? My journey as a stand-up comedian, my journey as an actor, my journey as a writer, or, you know, all of these things were pivotal everything I've lost, everything I've gained. There is nothing I can point to and say the most. They all delivered me to the best the best transformation I could be at that moment, and then it allowed me to hone that new expression of myself until it's like, bam, here's an opportunity to grow some more. So that's really, if you asked me at the beginning of the show, who am I at my core? I'm the possibility of growth and spirituality.
Wow. That is amazing. I thank you, and I am honored by your presence, you being here. I really appreciate you coming on the show and talking to us about your life.
Thank you.
The one thing that I want you to leave us with is, if you could leave us with the next best thing, the next best space, where you are heading. Can you share that with us?
Thank you for asking me that, because I have been thinking a lot about that. I don't know how much time I have.
Go ahead.
I was diagnosed in 2014 with stage 0 non-invasive breast cancer. And it was recommended that I get a lumpectomy, 7 weeks of radiation, and a drug called tamoxifen for 5 years. At that time, I didn't know anything about breast cancer. I didn't know of any alternative treatments. But fortunately, we're bringing Dick Gregory to the Secret Society of Twisted Storytellers, who had been diagnosed with stage something a long time ago. And he made them funny. He said, well, what does the doctor say about you still being alive after all these years? He says, I don't know, he dead. Okay, so he told me, you know, increase my vitamin D, and I just took a little step back. Not that he was my doctor, but because this is my body, and I knew that I had contributed to the environment that might make cancer possible. I had asked myself only 2 months before, when was the last time you had a vegetable? So I said, I'm going to wait, and I waited. And and 6 months later, I got a mammogram, still no progression. Then I went and got a thermograph, and then I got a naturopath. In 2015, September, I got an MRI, got a Carmanos, they said stage 0. I came back, recently got a thermogram, and it's still stage 0. And my naturopath is like, all we gotta do is just keep you healthy. It's free, it hasn't changed. But Western medical best practice is treat nothing like it's something.
Right.
And but I treated it like it was something. And what I treated it like was that it was a conversation with God. It was an opportunity every morning to wake up, although in fear. This spread, do you feel anything? And that whole process, it put me in touch with choice every moment. Do I get an organic apple, or do I get an M&M's candy bar? I work out. I feel so healthy, so vibrant. And this has transformed my life, because bringing myself to today and having watched my friend die in hospice as a neighbor below me, and seeing the way she reached out, she was like, Satori. She was a bone laying on the bed. Satori, there's more. You got to live. You've got to live. You got to go take breaks. So I booked a trip to New York. You got to, and she died. And so then I started to ask myself, if it does progress, you know, what would I do? Do I go get the mastectomy? Because then I get a mastectomy, and then you won't have to do chemo, nothing. And I didn't do that. I chose not to do that. Just keep monitoring. So now I'm at that space where I decided to answer all the questions right now. That's where I am now in my transformation. Put everything under quality of life. Is this going to enhance the quality of my life, or is it going to subtract? Will chemo enhance my quality of life? I don't know until I come to that moment, but I know the chemo, part of chemo does kill the cancer cell, but the game is, will it kill you first?
Right.
Will it subtract from my quality of life? Will all the side effects, not being able to walk, losing my bowels, all that, is that good? Or should I just wait and wait, just deal with alternative things? Right now, the stuff I'm doing, I go out and dance, I can jump down, I can do all, because I've got a fantastic trainer. And so cancer, the diagnosis of stage 0 non-invasive breast cancer has actually transformed my life. I'm better, I'm more beautiful, I'm more vibrant. Just because I have the opportunity to know that 5 or 8 years from now, this could have been a disease. And it might, who knows? But that's what we do, right? We're a delicate balance of life, and death. So I ask myself, is this going to enhance the quality of my life or subtract? And if it's going to enhance it, if it's not, I practice letting go. So this experience with you on your show, having this conversation, which I love, was like having a gourmet meal, complete with dessert and aperitif. And so this has definitely enhanced the quality of my life. It was not a waste a moment. In fact, it upgraded, it has uplifted my life. So I thank you very much for inviting me on your show, and I hope you invite everybody on your show so that they can feel alive and healed in some way. Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been the Conversations with Kai Mann. Again, our guest was Satori Shakoor. We thank her so much for coming on the show. Don't forget, we're here every week, every Wednesday. Join us, Conversations with Kai Mann.
Can I give